Takom's 2016 release of the Gepard in 1:35 scale, now re-released with Ukrainian markings. Let's do a first impressions. Welcome, yes, it's first impressions time, and today we're looking at this Takom kit. So as I just said, this was originally released in 2016, and in 2022 they announced it was going to be re-released with Ukrainian markings, which is what you see on the front cover here. You can see there the Ukrainian marking. So it says A1, A2, 2-in-1, so I guess that means you can build both. It's a limited edition, so that means it's probably a one-off run and they won't do any more. And at the bottom here, in faint writing, it tells us that it's not a toy, that we need paint and glue, that it may vary from the image, and it's a ready-to-assemble precision model kit intended for collectors of age 14 and up. That's not the most interesting thing about the box top, though. The most interesting thing about the box top is this. In that direction and in that direction, it is 15mm larger than the bottom of the box. It is bizarre. Can you see? I can get my fingers in there. So I've just measured it, and it's 15mm wide, longer than the box there, and it's the same in that direction as well. You can see I can get my fingers in. Not only that, the box is deeper than the base of the box. So if I put this down on there, you can see there's about 2mm, 3mm maybe. In fact, let's measure it just for completeness. It is 2.5mm taller or deeper than the box. So it's a bit odd that it doesn't all fit in. I've never seen that before. That is a bit of a faux pas. But anyway, if we look at the rest of the box, we've just got the Takom contact details on this side, information from the top of the box on this side, just the Takom logo on that side, and then on this side we get a little bit more information. Has a little label on saying 14 plus, and that's it. It says very little on the box actually. So taking that out of the way, the box itself is fairly rammed with stuff, and with the exception of that that's lying on the top, this is fairly well packed. So let's dig out the instructions and start there and see what we're in for. Our kit instructions are in a bag along with all sorts of other bits that are decals and cable and all sorts of stuff. In fact, my bag is splitting, but it is a resealable bag. So we're going to just get the instructions out for now. And then we'll come back to that. Right, our instructions. So our instruction manual, it's a nice satin finished manual, as you can see. The cover and the rest of the document is landscape, and it's stapled together. And it has this number on which is on the kit, so I'm guessing this is the kit number, as it's on the box I should say. 03022044. So I'm guessing that's the kit number. And we have a nice technical drawing of the vehicle on the front. It tells us it's a flak Panzer, but if you know anything about this, and I don't know a lot, it does have the ability to fire forward as well as upwards. And we have, well, I'm not even going to pronounce that, but it says the Gepard, better known as the Flak Panzer A1. Gepard was first developed from the Leopard in the 1960s and entered service with German Army in 1973. 420 of these were built for the Army and also served with armies of Netherlands, Belgium, and currently Brazil, Chile, Jordan and Romania. And we can obviously add Ukraine to that list. So, says the crew of 3 enjoys a full NBC protection while the turret provides protection against small arms, shell fragments. The Gepard is powered by a 830 horsepower diesel engine which can be replaced in the field within 20 minutes. The Gepard is also equipped with a 4-cylinder diesel Daimler-Benz MTU motor for operating the weapon system while the vehicle is not running. There we go. As we open it up, we see we've got the read before assembly instructions as a start off. I'm not going to get all this on camera, so what I'll do is I'll fold the pages for you. There we go. And we're continuing with this sort of semi-gloss feel of the book. So apologies if I get any light bounce. So we've got some cautions, we've got the key, fairly basic key for the instruction manual. We've got the paints required, which are referring to the MIG products. So what have we got there? 14 colours, all in all, and it gives you a MIG reference number. So yeah. And then we've got some information on putting decals on and for removing photo etch parts, cleaning them up and gluing them. All of which, well, two out of the 3 I wouldn't do, so interesting. Page 2, we have our sprue map, and I don't think, yes we do. We do have numbers, so you can use it for cross-referencing. So we have 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 plus 9 plastic sprues, 1 clear sprue, making it 10. Polycaps, cables, hull turret and another part as one-off parts, or lower and upper hull by the looks of it. 1 fret of photo etch, some more polycaps and a sheet of decals. I know that that's incorrect because we've got 2 sheets of decals. So these are clearly the instructions from the original release that they've put in without thinking to upgrade for the special edition. And then we jump into the build as you would expect on a tracked vehicle with the lower hull. Looks like we've got suspension and bits and pieces to be added separately, which is nice. Gives you the option of doing some pre-painting if you wish. There's some more doing the same on the other side really with the bump stops and everything, so that's step 2. Then we've got some 0.6mm holes to drill, making up the wheels, so 2 of them, 14 of them, 2 of them, so not too bad. And as are the Christie style wheels, they're nice and easy to put together. Then we're adding the wheels, and then we are moving to the upper hull. We've got the vision blocks going in, some of the internal parts for mounting other stuff later on, I'm guessing. A bit more drilling to do, this time a 1mm hole. And then, what's this showing us here? Is that area there? Not quite sure what that's showing, but nonetheless, we're starting to populate the upper hull with various little bits there. Step 8, we continue with the upper hull. We've got engine vents and toolboxes and bits and pieces going on, spare tracks. Then and we're just adding more of that. So there's quite a lot of separate parts on the upper hull. And then we've got a top plate going on and what looks like a photo etch grill going above that. The number of separate parts going on this means that we've got lots of moulding detail that's going to be nice and accurate and tight. So it should look really authentic when built up. Then we've got the rear plate going on, and it's sort of saying test fit it with the upper hull, because then in step, oh no, I was reading the order wrong. 11, 12, 13, they've gone across the top of the page. So we're adding the upper hull and then adding the rear of the vehicle. So again, more little individual parts which will add to the moulding detail. And okay, so the tracks seem to be held together by polycaps, which I've not seen before, so that'll be interesting. Seems to be that we have a track piece, then we've got the centre horn that goes in as a separate item, and then we've got a polycap that holds the two pins together, so you should have a fully working track. That should be interesting. So by step 12 we've got all the lower hull built, the wheels and the tracks, the upper hull detailed at least with the larger parts and added on, and the rear plate is put on after that, so that's good. So far the build sequence is pretty much how I would approach it normally myself, so no resequencing required. Then we've got mud flaps, tow hooks, then we're making up the cables. It's nice that they've added pre-cut to length steel cable. That's going to really add to the look of it, and we can see that being added on there, but of course you can position that however you want, which is nice. And then we've got a choice to make. So we've got turrets and it's saying version 1 or version 2. So version 1 we've got some bits to remove, and version 2 we've got some holes to drill. Okay, not actually telling us what the difference is, so I guess we'll discover that when we get to the paint section. Right, so we're now populating the hull. We've got all sorts of little bits going on here. They look like they're lamps to me. Then we've got the hatch being built up and put in, so that's nice. Looks like we can have that open or closed. Then we're building up the radar unit that sits at the front there. We've got smoke dischargers being put together, so we can see that radar going in, and we've got all sorts of little bits and pieces being pulled together here, which means again lots of detail. They've broken it down to make it easier for them to mould the detail in, rather than moulding it all in one, so that's really nice. And we've got some photo etch as well, which is going to really uplift the scale look of it, so nice. That looks quite a complex little bit to fold though. TP8. We'll have a look when we look at the photo etch. Then that looks like the breech to me of the gun, and its swivel mount. So yeah, we're definitely building up the gun here. There's two of them, isn't there? So building that up looks good. Looks very Star Wars at this point. That could easily be on an ST Walker or something. But yeah, so that's the hull turned upside down, guns being mounted and put into place, and then I guess, right, so they lock together. Yeah, so they lock together. So they will be fully posable when they're built up then, so that's great. Then we've got the turret base going in. I can see it's got the teeth in it, so the idea being that once it's in, it'll go in some slots in the hull, you rotate it and you can't lift it off. First thing I always do is take those little teeth off so I can lift it off. The advantage of removing that is that you don't have it, when you put the layers of paint on it, it gets thicker and that tolerance can get tighter and you can damage the surface of your paint, so I just take them off. So just how I do it. 28.1, 28.2. That looks identical to me, so unless I'm missing something with the... right, okay, so option 1, option 2. It's a little bit confusing that though, isn't it? Let's just go back a bit. (26.1), 26.2. Right, so there's a slight difference in the gun, which I hadn't clocked. So A1 version, A2 version, 16.1, 16.2. So wherever you see a -1 or a -2, that's for whichever you've chosen. Right, makes sense now, but took me a minute. Okay, so aerial box being built up and added on. It's probably worth making the decision which version you're going to build and then crossing off the parts of the instructions you're not going to use, I think, just to avoid being confused by what's going on, because some of these are not options and other bits are options. I'm also finding it a little bit disorientating that the instructions are going across the top that way rather than going down. I don't know why, but I am finding it a bit disorientating. Anyway, it looks decidedly like a breach, that, doesn't it? So not quite sure what it is, but we're building it all up. There's the big radar dish that goes at the top there, and we can flip that over and we can see, right, so it's the back end of the turret with the big radar in. I'm mounting that on, so that's cool, and it looks like that will fold backwards. You see, when you put those in onto those pegs there, that should be able to rotate and fold back. So that's cool. Then we're doing what we've done on the previous side on this side. Some toolboxes being built up and then added on, and then we're putting the turret in, and you can see the little openings there for those teeth that I'd suggest you remove. Right, and then in version 2 we've got an additional box that goes on the back. I got to say, I think I'm more inclined to go with version 2 at the moment without understanding what that means really. And then finally we've got side skirts going on both sides, and that is it. So 38 steps, lots of parts, but fundamentally you could build all of that up and then paint it once it is all built. No interior detail. Then we get to the painting instructions, and again, we've got the MIG call outs, this time done with little colour chips to give you an idea. Right, okay. So it doesn't clearly tell you this, but this is the German army and it's got the box on. So this is the version 2 that you were building, and it has different gun muzzles. And then this is the Belgian army, which is the version 1, which is all over green. Then we've got another version 2, which is the Brazilian army with camouflage. So you're really looking for this box here to decide which it is. Then we've got German army again, this time a version 1 again, with a similar but different pattern camouflage, but same colours. Then we've got German army again, version 2. And then German army again, another version 2. Quite like that one in the paler colours, I have to say. Then we've got Romanian army, which is a version 1, and German army, which is a version 1, but they're not actually telling you theatre, year, battalion. There's no information at all, so don't know what that applies to. Yeah, and that's it. So there's actually no instructions in there for painting it in Ukrainian colours. So have they just given it a Ukrainian box and a couple of decals? Let's have a look at what else we've got. So you would think that they would put a separate sheet in, you know, just one sheet with the paint instructions on for the Ukrainian army. But they've not bothered. What they've done is they've given you some decals specific to the Ukrainian army. And as far as I can see, everything you can see there is the sum total of the difference for the Ukrainian special edition. That's it. Just 2 Ukrainian markings that are off center with the print. So they're not even decent decals. You get a little sheet of paper which says where to put them, and that's it. So what particular shade of green am I using for the Ukrainian army? I don't know. Well, I can work it out. I've got other kits that do tell you, so I can go and work it out. But as this has been supplied from Germany to Ukraine, is it in German army colours? Is it camouflaged? Is it not? I have no idea. So some digging and some research is needed. I'm guessing you'll be pretty accurate with the German colours, but I don't know that for sure. This is the decal sheet for the other options, so you can still build the original kit as intended. So you've got all those markings in there. So you might be able to put them on and paint them off and weather it and have them showing from underneath or stuff like that. But you've got registration plates and things. I have no idea whether we need some Ukrainian ones or whether we're just using the German ones. Simply not enough information for the Ukrainian version, unfortunately. Having said that, the decals do look fairly good. They feel a little bit thick. There's certainly plenty of decal film around them, so you'll have to be careful of that. But if you're not going to use them, there's some nice handy backup decals for some projects, dioramas or whatever. If you're going to do a zoo diorama, you're sorted. Moving into the kit parts now, and we'll start with these. These were all in the bag with the decals loose and the instructions, so I'm not going to put them back in the bag. I've put the decals inside the instructions for safekeeping, and these will go loose into the box. But we've got some poly caps. They're a bit rough and ready. They'll need a little bit of cleanup, but yeah, nothing much to say about poly caps, is there? We've also got these, and these are actually really nice. I expected them to be. When I've had cables in the past, they've always been really stiff and got spring in them, and when you put them into shape, they don't stay there. And these are a bit like that, but actually they are definitely better. So I'm not quite sure what they're made of. They're really light as well, which also surprised me. So yeah, this is nice that they've put this in. It's a really nice detail. It's so much better than putting in the plastic ones. You can weather these up now, and they'll look great. Really handy. So that's a nice effort. And then that leaves us with our photo etch, one sheet of photo etch, which amounts to this grill at the back, a couple of other grills, a couple of brackets, this thing here, and it does have fold lines on, but this is what we saw in the instructions that looked a little bit wavy shapes. I think that's the thing we saw a close-up of in the instructions, but I'm still not clear exactly where it's going. And then we've got these little sort of box things to make up, and I'm not quite sure what they are either. But yeah, there you go. They've got a film over them, so you'll have to give them a clean. But yeah, that's your photo etch. All of the sprues come in these reusable bags. Some of them are a single sprue per bag, and some of them are multiple sprues of the same type per bag. So it all depends. Now this is sprue B, so this is our first one. And I always like the fact that Takom do this, makes it nice and easy to use. And we're having a look here. I'm going to take some photographs at the end, so I can adjust the lighting and improve how this all looks. But first thing I'm spotting is we've got some really nice texturing going on. Don't know if we can see that in the light now. It'll come up under the photographs. And then we've got some nice delicate moulding around some of the detail of the guns there. Yeah, that's nice, that actually. That all looks good. There's a little bit of flash on some of these parts, but essentially there's nothing wrong with that. So let's just show you. Like I say, I'll take some close-up photos, and then you'll be able to see much better things like the texturing and stuff. Sprue T, we have 3 of these in a single bag, and as you can see, it's dealing with the tracks. So if we turn this over, you can see we've got part 1 is the guide horn, and part 2 is the actual track. So you've got 4 nubs on each track that you're going to have to clean up. As I look down the line, you've got seam on them all as well. So this is a nice job for a rainy Sunday afternoon. Put a decent film on, I don't know, Zulu or something like that, and just clean up your track links for a few hours. But yeah, there's lots of them, but they look really nicely moulded. There's detail on both sides. I think these are rubber blocks, aren't they? So you've got some detail painting to do. So this is definitely a kit for the winter when you can't go anywhere, you're snowed in, and you've got nothing. All you can do is build tank tracks. So yeah, it's times like this when you're looking at this and you think, you know what, maybe wading through river diorama is in order. But yeah, there's certainly plenty to do there. Sprue C now, and this has got some of our larger parts on there, including radar parts, the hatch lid and what have you. I have to say all the parts are nice and neatly moulded. There's no sink in any of them. I can see some release film on there. Can you see that? Some release oil on there. So they will need a good wash, these parts. They've done a really nice job of moulding in this detail here, this sort of louvre. So that they've done a really good job of that, actually. All the ejector pins seem to be on hidden surfaces, so that is good. Yeah, very nice. Not much in the way of texturing on any of these parts, so clearly they don't need to be. And we can see we've got the ammunition box ends there and the sides. I think that's the bit for the version 2. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Just give you a quick look. Sprue V now, we have 2 of these, again in the same bag, and as you can see, we're dealing primarily with the wheels and chassis components. So we've got the suspension arms, we've got bump stops and various other bits and pieces on there. Yeah, very nice actually. So this is sort of the back of the parts. I think this is also some gun parts, and we've got the towing hook there, towing hook, gun parts, all nicely moulded, no issues. Yeah, so we can see some nice detail. We've got nice fastener heads, they all look good. The hub has lots of nice detail on, so plenty of dirt traps for your washers and stuff. Then we've got the suspension, what looks to be the aerial as well, so lots of little components on here. All of them nice and crisply moulded. Out of the box is the lower and upper hull. So let's have a look at the lower hull first. So single piece moulding, appears to be straight, so there's no rock. There's a little bit of rock, so there's a bit of distortion in it. It's just seems fairly flat from that point of view though. Yeah, there's a little bit of twist in this plate, so that might give you a bit of a problem unless you can sort it out in some way. But looking at the part, we've got a connection point that needs cleaning up on the bottom. Otherwise, we can see the individual plates with weld seams. We've got weld seams all the way around the mounting points for the suspension arms. So that's all very nicely done. More welding on these plates here. So the detail is lovely actually. Then we can see we've got fastener detail on these plates here. Even though they're unlikely to be seen, it's good that it's on there. You can weather it all before you mount your wheels, so very nice. So that is our lower hull. The upper hull, we've got anti-slip texturing on there, which is good to see on all the relevant places. We've got boxes moulded in on the side, and we've got grills moulded in on the side, and that's a bit of a lost opportunity. You could, you know, if you had the grills separate, then we could replace them with photo etch. But anyway, we don't. Nonetheless, it is nicely moulded, nice detail. Yeah, no, I don't see any sink, I don't see any major issues or even much in the way of cleanup either. So that all looks pretty cool, to be honest. Let's just see how it fits with the lower hull there. There we go. Well, that fits nice. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Yeah. Not much more I can say. It's nice and crisply moulded. It all looks good, and we know there's tons of stuff being stuck on there from the instructions that we went through. Sprue D now, only one of these, and we've got lots of the components that end up being attached to the hull one way or another. We've got some boxes which have got anti-slip texturing on. The tools aren't separate, which I find a little strange. They would certainly benefit from being separate items because the handles are really deep. So you could get in with the point of a knife and round that off. I might be tempted to cut that out and replace it with a bit of plastic rod. Yeah, that's a shame. Yeah, but lots of nice details. We've got all sorts of little aerials and brackets, tail lights and bits and pieces. Some form of duct in there. There is quite a bit of seam on some of these parts. So if you look at that, for example, you can see the seam on there is pretty hefty. So quite a bit of clean up. There's our spare track that gets mounted on there. Yeah. But other than seam, that's the only clean up task. There's no other issues with it at all. So, all good. Sprue E, that's the last of our grey plastic sprues. We've got the side skirts on there, the base of the turret, the rear plate of the vehicle. We've got this top piece that goes around the turret base, the mounting points for the guns, and then this radar dish which is moulded in one piece, and that's really nicely done. But just look at this, what a lovely bit of moulding that is, with all the tail lights in. I reckon that's slide moulded. When you look at the sprue, I think that's been slide moulded in, and it looks spectacular. Very nicely done. And we've got some weld seam on there as well, and then our side plates have lots of nice detail. Yeah, very, very good. Yep, nothing wrong with that. Nothing at all. Our turret now, so two-part turret, other than the base that we've just seen, and that's our rear section, which goes on like so. So I just wanted to test the fit, but it's fairly tight, but there you go, it's on. So I mean, that's just ready to go. I don't even see any cleanup on that. We've got a little bit of moulding plastic to take out there, but look at the surface detail with lots of really nice welding detail. So you can see where all of these panels have been welded together. That looks really nice. Yeah, very good. Then we put our radar dish. We've got our openings there for vision blocks. It's a very, very nice bit of moulding. So there is nothing wrong with that turret. It's very nice, and we've got lots to add on there with the guns on and stuff. I think she'll look superb. Now we've got a bag full of these little poly connectors for the tracks, and they look just like the real thing. So this looks like a really nice solution for me. Cut them off, plop them on. I think they're actually black in real life as well, aren't they? So you don't even need to paint them. You can just paint your tracks and then assemble them. So hopefully that'll be quick and easy. Although as I look on the side profile, I have seen one there that's not formed properly. Let me just check that. It might just be a little bit of flash. No, that one's solid, so that's not usable. I hope we've got some spares. Might be able to drill it out, but with it being a poly cap, it'll be tricky. Don't see issues with any of the others, but let's see if it's just one mold tool they're using and that we have that repeating every one. Nope, they're all good. So it's probably just a one-off. But yeah, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.5 of these. So I'm hoping they put a few spares in amongst that. That's the track bits done. And finally, our clear parts. So we saw these in the instructions. These domes are lamps, so they'll need painting in an orange or whatever colour they are. We've got all these little vision blocks, so there's plenty of clear parts. They all look nicely moulded. There's a little bit of sink, as you often get on clear parts, on these two, which I'm guessing are some form of headlamp. Whether we can sort that or whether it's an issue, I don't know. But yeah, nothing wrong with that. Nice selection of clear parts. I love the fact that they've given us the lamps clear and we're not sort of painting them. That'll look so much better. So yeah, very nice. That concludes the parts. So let's sum up. Right then, there you have it. What are my first impressions? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a load of photographs. So after this summary, at the back end of the video, you can have a look and take a view for yourself. But this is what I think. I think the subject matter is really, really interesting, especially at the moment. And it's a little bit different when it comes to armoured fighting vehicles. It's nice to have something a bit different to the single gun mounted in a turret tank type thing. So I like the fact that it's something a little bit different. So subject matter, 10 out of 10. Have Takom done it justice? I think largely yes. The actual kit is not part count heavy, so it shouldn't take too long to construct. There's a bit of seam cleanup needed, but you're not having to put lots of filler in to sort out sink, and you've not got lots of flash to carve off, so it shouldn't be too bad a job to sort it out. And your biggest task is building the individual track links, but like I say, get yourself a nice wet weekend and get yourself into the groove, put a decent film on or some music or what have you, and they'll be done in no time. So yeah, I don't see any real negative points from the point of view of the kit. Highlights are that they've put some metal tow cables in, and they've given you 2 different options, and the clear parts means that we've got some the little orange lamps there will be clear parts, and so they will look like the actual lamps. So those are all nice touches. Low lights, well, they've released this as a Ukraine one, and it's a little bit disappointing that they're not giving you paint instructions for it. I appreciate there's not much in the way of decals that they can do, and it's nice that they've kept the original kit offering together, but give us a paint sheet, tell us what colours to do it in. You know, I'm sure there must be some other markings other than the national symbols, so it feels like a little bit of a rush job to get it out from that point of view, which is a shame, because You know, it wouldn't have cost much to put an additional paint instruction sheet in, and you know, then you'd have a really nice kit. It would be 10 out of 10 for me if they'd done that job properly, but they haven't. So that knocks off a little bit for me. It's a little bit bizarre that the box lid is so much bigger than the box base, but there you go. But otherwise, I think it's a very nice presentation. Should be a relatively quick build. There's lots and lots of detail on there, so should be fun to weather it if you're that way inclined. Easy to brush paint, even easier to airbrush. You should be able to build it all up as sub-assemblies, paint it in one go, weather and assemble as you go. So yeah, there's no issues with this whatsoever. I think it's a great little kit, and I'm looking forward to building it on this channel at some point in the future. Hope that was useful. If you've been looking at this and umming and ahhing, you now know what you get in the box. So thanks for looking in. You enjoy your modelling. I will see you soon. And here's some close-ups. Bye for now.